All right, red flags and warning signs. So in this section, I'm going to just highlight a bunch of common flags that I see. So first thing here is lack of transparency. If an operator is reluctant to share detailed information or provide access to past performance data, that is a major red flag for me. You would be surprised more often than not. Operators either don't have the information organized or they're not willing to provide it to you. And that's an immediate red flag for me. I remember I was about to invest in a particular deal, and I was like, "Hey, can you provide me a background of all of the other properties that you've done that are similar to this?" And they brushed me off, and they never ended up really providing me the data, and so I ended up passing on the deal, which is kind of shocking. You'd be surprised how many people, when you ask for historical numbers, they don't give it to you or just don't have it altogether. Second thing here is emphasis on returns. So this has actually been a huge trend, maybe even with Ponzi schemes and things that have a high tax efficiency. So there are many deals where they say, hey, you get to write off, like, look at all the tax savings from investing in this deal. Hey, you get 80, 100, 150% bonus depreciation. So for every $100,000 you invest, you get to write off X amount. And those deals are what attract a lot of investors. And they focus a lot on the returns and how amazing it is instead of the underlying, like, how do you get to those numbers? How does this work? I find that there's been a carbon capture deal that I've looked at, and many people I know that have invested in. Those types of deals, people are it's a new technology. Not a lot of people know about it. There's not a lot of documentation, and so they just focus on promoting these big returns. And that's been something where I start to look closer, and I want to see how the bread is made. Addition to that, high pressure to invest quickly. If you're being pressured to commit without adequate time to do your research, this is an indicator someone is hiding something. Like, you don't want to be investing with someone who is pushing you to make a deal. All of the firms that I end up working with are ones where it's like, look, we would love to have you. There might be this kind of, you need to act quickly because we have this kind of cap. But, if it's not the right time for you, totally okay. Like, we'll continue circling back when it is. That's who you want to build a relationship with, not the person who is sitting there, saying, "Oh man, you need to invest in this deal," and not really caring about you and what your goals are. Next one is inconsistent communication. So delaying responding to questions or vague answers when you're asking questions. That is a huge red flag. It's not going to get any better in the 5 or 10 year or however long you end up investing with that person. If you ultimately decide to do that, it's always a huge red flag. Like, you want to be with people that are professional, unless there's something happening in their life and that, they apologize, maybe they're on vacation or, something, an emergency happened in their life. But generally, if you're working with professionals, like, they should be willing to hop on the phone, answer your questions if it doesn't suffice over email, and that's just a reason why I tend to orient myself towards more professional firms. Then the next one here is no track record of handling challenges. So if an operator can't admit a mistake or admit that they made a bad deal, like, you want to be curious. You want to figure out why. There is no expectation that deals will go well 100% of the time. When in your life have you done anything where it's gone right 100% of the time? Never. And similarly, when you're investing in these deals, you need to also approach this with the fact that not all of my investments are going to be winners, but also when you're asking someone else about their challenges, you should expect that same kind of candidness, that they tell you, oh man, here's how this deal that I recently bought went sideways. I originally thought X, it turns out Y, and here's what I learned from it, and I'm not going to do that mistake moving forward, right? Generally what you want to hear. And then a few more. One of my mentors, Matt King, who runs a major family office over 100 million for a guy named David Osborne, he's taught me a couple of these concepts. If you cannot identify their unfair advantage, why them and why now? There are so many great operators out there, and if you haven't come across them yet, that's maybe means you have a deal flow problem. But you want to be working with someone who, they're entirely, like an example that I've heard is, if you're going to invest in oil and gas, I want to be investing in oil and gas where it's been in that family for generations and they know everything. The guy who's running the deal is, been around oil fields all of his life. He grew up on an oil field, and they are well known across all the cities where they're drilling, and they have an unfair advantage. They know all the local politicians, and they've been drilling in the area for over 50 years, and so they have the benefit of experience. That is an unfair advantage. That's what you want to be investing for. So I would always ask them, like, what is your unfair advantage? And have them tell you, and you'll be the judge if that's a good answer or not. Second thing here is if you are the largest investor at $50K in a $2 million deal, be concerned. We always want there to be deep pockets that can help with when things go sideways. We actually had this same rule at Techstars. So when I worked at a venture capital firm, part of our strategy for a $150 million fund was never be the largest investor. We strategically in that fund wanted to be more passive and not take an active role. And so with that mindset, it's, okay, if a deal's going sideways and the operator needs an additional $1 million in a couple of years because interest rates have gone up like they have today, and they need to go raise money from other investors. You want there to be other investors in that deal where it would hurt more for them to lose their chunk of money than it is for you. So just be careful, if you are the largest investor in a deal, especially if we are here playing the passive role, we're trying to live on the income or diversify our investments. Like, we don't want to be taking an active role, and so our strategy in terms of like our allocation into an investment should mimic that. Third, deals don't tend to get better with age. There are deals that you might see in once you attend a webinar or two for a given deal, you will maybe start seeing some retargeting ads for this deal. And we found, like with major, $100 million projects, that these firms might be fundraising for anywhere between, a couple months. They might pre-sell on a deal to all the way to where they're fundraising for years. I've seen a deal where it's been over 18 months where they had marketed their deal. And the idea here is if not a lot of people are buying into the deal, somewhat of a herd mentality, why are you? A lot of the best deals with the best operators fill up quickly. And the goal is to to learn who those people are, what types of deals they do, if they match ours, and then if they do, to invest with them. So keep in mind, one thing you're going to want to just know about is, is this a fund that they're raising money for, and how long are they raising money for that deal to close? So, and then lastly is make sure that the collateral is real. So I have a story where, there was I've asked for a Google spreadsheet of someone and their pro forma, like, hey, show me your financials of your deal, and they were very hesitant to do it. They only wanted to provide it in PDF form, and I needed to see it in Excel because I wanted to see how some of the cells talk to each other and how they influence each other. And so when they eventually did, I found that when they changed the rent, statically. So instead of having a formula bar, everything where there's a calculation, okay, rent is growing by 2% per year, they went in and put all of these metrics statically, and they weren't based off any calculation. And so that was just a huge red flag, because you want to be seeing the numbers, how they calculate together. Does this make sense to me? You want to be checking the work of who you're investing in. One of the things that I made sure that I did when I made an investment into this ATM portfolio, a fund of 25,000 ATMs, there's specifically people that went out and checked, like spot checked locations for this operator of, did these ATM machines actually exist in the places where they said they were? And so the outcome there was yes. But there was an issue that I overheard. There was a carbon capture deal that was being promoted to some circles that I'm in, and many people invested into that opportunity, which ended up becoming a Ponzi scheme. And what we later found out is no one took the time to determine and validate that the carbon capture machines that everyone was investing into were real. There was no one that did an on-site visit. And so you always want to make, trust but verify. You want to validate that everything that they're saying is true. And you're just looking to poke holes. And if you can't find any major holes after your entire due diligence process, then maybe it's good enough for you to make that investment. And with each investment, you will learn what else to ask and how to not get screwed over time. And if you think about it, that is the way that you're going to get better. You shouldn't think about this as you are starting now and you're not going to make any mistakes moving forward. You're absolutely going to make mistakes. So let's figure out how to make them in small chunks. And with each iteration, each investment, you're going to learn, oh, I wish I had checked for that. Or, oh, I'm going to add that question into my due diligence questionnaire. And that's how you'll get better at this skill over time. That's at least how it's worked for me.